So we're going to present two separate projects with Fabrizio. One is focusing in education and the other one in medicine. And they have something in common, which is that we provide research-based training to external stakeholders. In my case, they are middle grade teachers. In Fabrizio's case, they are doctors. There is a lot in the literature about argumentation related to education, and there is a lot to confirm that argumentation in the classroom is something that really improves learning. I'm not going here to present the theoretical part of it. If you're interested, I'm giving an ArgLab session this Tuesday, so you can come to hear more about that. I will just summarize that argumentation is related to learning basically in two ways. The first way is that through arguing, it has been proven that students learn how to argue. So it's the practice of argumentation more important than learning what is argumentation that makes students learn how to argue. This means that they learn how to construct valid arguments, they learn how to construct valid reasons, they learn how to construct valid counter-arguments and valid rebuttals to these counter-arguments, which are basics of any level of education from primary and secondary school, but also in the university. And the other basic reason is that through arguing, students learn how to construct a more scientific, more elaborated discourse. And moreover, they learn better the contents with which they argue. So you can apply argumentation in any subject matter, but in the end, the students are forced to use the knowledge of this subject matter in order to give validity to their arguments. And it has been proven that in this way they learn better the science, let's say, or the subject matter in which argumentation is applied. But there is a problem. Our argumentation ability is naturally developed until 11 years old. And after that, it depends on us if we become skilled arguers or not. It means that the natural ability to construct arguments, counter-arguments, rebuttals is there. Everybody has it. But after 11, 12 years old, we have the opportunity to become more skilled than others. And one of the factors that has been shown that helps these passage, let's say, from the ability to a skill to a competence, is the explicit instructional argumentation. So it's not just the formal education that we need to pass through after we finish university. We're not all of us the best critical thinkers in the world, are we? Including myself. But it is the explicit instruction of argumentation strategies that makes the argumentation skill becomes more manifested. And this is a little bit a summary of why argumentation in the classroom is necessary. But what happens, especially in science education? There is insufficiency of the science textbooks to improve the argumentation quality, the quality of argumentation practice in the classroom. Most of the times, especially, I'm not talking about university studies here, I'm talking for primary and secondary education. We have the famous IRE pattern, which means that the teacher starts with an inquiry, waits for students' response, and he evaluates it regarding to his own answer or the answer that there is in the textbook. So there is no space for argumentation in the classroom. There is more authoritative, let's say, discourse from part of the teacher. We have a lack of understanding of scientific concepts from part of the students. Many times they are able to memorize or to tell us a scientific theory, and then you ask them a simple thing about something, like why the water falls, and they say like, oh my God, what is that? So there is a lack of transfer between what they learn and their real understanding and application of the concepts. They use evidence incorrectly, so they know maybe what evidence is, but they do the wrong coordination between data and theories. Overall, there is a very bad image in general over the world about the skill of argumentation in children, adolescents, and in a fewer studies among adults. This is why argumentation has become a central part in many educational policies around the world, especially when it regards science literacy, science reasoning, and science knowledge, not only because it enhances science reasoning and science knowledge, but also because it helps students become better citizens. So arguing on a matter, even if it is a science-related matter, it helps students become more critical thinkers, and it helps them develop more elaborated theories about the world in general. So this is why we thought to start this project about argumentation here in Portugal. The project is focusing on teachers, so we are focusing on teachers as the main vehicles for improving the argumentation practices in the classroom. The goal is to develop some explicit argumentation strategies together with the teachers, and more precisely middle grade teachers. This means from the terceiro ciclo do ensino básico, 7th to 9th grade. And the aims are to assess what is currently being doing in terms of argument-based teaching in some representative classrooms in the Lisbon area, to identify the conditions that promote dialogical interaction in the Portuguese classroom, and finally to empower teachers to implement more argumentation-based practices in their classrooms. We're going to start by classroom observation and audio recording of some classrooms without any interventions at the beginning to see what is actually being happening in some middle grade classrooms in Portugal. Then we're going to analyze and assess the discourse, the dialogue that we're going to have in these classrooms. Then we're going to do some teacher training sessions on argumentation techniques. We are going to put teachers together to construct a community of practice and exchange their experiences so they can teach each other how to improve argumentation in the classroom. And we're going to do a follow-up analysis and evaluation of this training program. For the moment, I didn't put the slide yet because it's still been doing, we have 3 schools that have accepted to participate in the program. So we're going to do a pilot phase starting this September with 10 teachers in total. And let's see how it goes. So in the end, we would like to construct, let's say, a manual for argumentation-based activities in the Portuguese classrooms with the help of these teachers. At the same time, I'm doing a smaller scale project, and some of you maybe received a link to a survey, so I'm going to explain you a little bit more about that. Yeah. So this little project, I call it ArtQual, because I would like to see what is the quality of argument perception among our students, university level, pre-graduate and graduate. What do we mean by that? As we said, not all of us become skilled arguers. The possibility to become more or less skilled depends a lot on us, and depends a lot also on university teachers, on us who still do this work, because even after high school, students still have basic problems with constructive theories, writing an essay, etc. So I wanted to see what is the current level of some of our students right now. My goal is to do an instrument that can be easily applied to assess, let's say, the basic level of argument quality perception among the students. And we did the pilot phase already with 80 university students, 15 masters and 65 undergraduates, through a questionnaire that, if you did the survey, you already know it. This questionnaire had 3 main, let's say, areas, 3 main basic argument skills. The first one is to identify argument elements, to distinguish between relevant and irrelevant argument elements, and to compose valid argumentation schemes. The questionnaire is still under validity and reliability assessment. That's why I sent you the link, because my idea is that if we can also confront the results that we take from our students, from some results of people who have some philosophy background, maybe we can add, we can help the questionnaire, we can help me construct a more reliable questionnaire. So please, if you have some free time, do either the Portuguese or the English version of the survey. The results that we obtained so far are not very good, are not very encouraging. Okay, I'm not going to present them very formally because still I need to validate the questionnaire. So the same students are going to redo the questionnaire, and I'm going to do the reliability assessment. But just for your curiosity, for the first factor, identification of argument elements, 29% of students got it wrong to find the main reason in a very simple paragraph. It's the same survey I sent to you, so you know that it was very basic, very easy. 29% of students could not identify what is the main reason in the paragraph. Evidence in support of the reason, 21 got it wrong. Counter-argument, 30. Conclusion, 43. In a paragraph, students, 43% of 80 students had difficulty in identifying a conclusion in the paragraph. This is not only in Portugal, it's not cultural. There are more studies confirming the same thing among university students. Distinction of relevant from irrelevant elements, 55% got it wrong, how to identify a relevant from irrelevant reason. And more than 50% got it wrong to distinguish argument from explanation. Production of relevant arguments, we had more or less a medium quality of the arguments produced, with 30% producing strong arguments. So that's the positive thing to work on. The future steps is, as I said, we start collaboration with 3 schools. I am also going to submit an R&D proposal in order to have more money to extend the project and do some intercultural comparison with other works being done in Spain and in the US. I want to assess the impact of argumentation teaching using and further developing this questionnaire that I talked about. And also assess the argument quality perception level of researchers in philosophy to enhance the validity of the instrument. So please, it's not to judge you, or if you do it really bad, I'm going to blame the questionnaire, so please do it. Because, as I said, it's very important for us to have some comparison measurement in order to increase the reliability. So if you have any question, now that Fabrizio is coming to continue with the medical project, you can ask me and Fabrizio can come to...
Can I ask you now or now?
Okay, you can ask me now because then it's not going to be very related. So please, if you have like a couple of questions, I can answer. Yes?
So, first of all, I want to greet you because of this project, which is clearly a dissemination project. And now the questions. What are the Portuguese teachers going to teach? Portuguese language? No.
When I say Portuguese teacher, I mean teacher in Portugal, in Portuguese schools.
What subjects are they?
And most of them are in science-related subjects, but we also have history and language.
Okay.
And it's good because there is research evidence about any subject, so it's good also to have some experience.
Teachers from the area of social sciences and philosophy tend to immediately jump into the project, but I think that it must be much more interesting.
It's more interesting from the science.
The area of science.
Yeah.
So, when does the pilot phase end?
It will start in September and it will end at the end of the school year.
Of the school year, so it is a 1 year pilot phase?
1 year, yeah. We're going to have 2 observation phases, the first one without observation, the second one during the training.
And is there going to be some quantitative data? How are you going to deal with it?
Of course, yes.
And you are going to deal with that through what, surveys and...
Quantitative data from this point of view. I didn't think of applying the survey for the teachers and the students. It's going to be a qualitative work of analyzing the classroom discourse. The quantitative part gets into the statistical aspects of seeing the improvement effect of the training. But I didn't think of also doing something quantitative. Maybe after the questionnaire is validated, we can also.
You talked about science review, and certainly this is important if we can get some kind of collaboration from that side. But also, one just should keep in mind that the former dean of this school is now Secretary of State of Education. So, at some point, if you are talking about dissemination, certainly he has some power to connect us with the secondary schools. At some point when you feel that this is important, I think that it would be interesting if we invite him and also the current team to see this presentation for sure and also something else that results from the work done already.
It's good because as part of this pilot project we're going to have 3 workshops and focus groups with the teachers of the 3 schools who are going to come here. So it will be good in the end.
But I will do a presentation specifically for them to and I think that would be interesting if some teachers could be here and also some students, because that might be very interesting for them, because since we are developing this already, they can just somehow give their endorsement to the project in several different ways that might be interesting for them and for us.
The degree of agreement among evaluators is 0.76.
You talk about the questionnaire?
Yes.
connecting.
Yeah.
So the integrated learning, yeah, is not very high, but it's satisfying. But we're still in the process of, yeah, increasing it. That's why we need your help. Yes.
Very interesting and promising. Very interesting. I wonder which kind of role have the teachers in the program. So, what sort of knowledge must have the teacher to play
that's a very good question. We based on the motivation. So the way we selected the teachers was to send a letter to the directors of the schools, and these directors forwarded the letter and the invitation to the teachers who were more involved in similar projects and had similar initiatives, etc. I had already 2 sessions in 2 of the schools to meet the teachers and everything, and I saw that these were the people. So the directors themselves did an excellent job to pre-select the teachers who were already advanced in this. So there are not any formal prerequisites. I think just the motivation to try out new things and not to be the center of the classroom but help the students express themselves. But yeah, there are not any.
Motivation.
Yeah, and of course, as there is a training part, and many of them are interested in getting some credits for that and everything. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so we sometimes get lines of communication aren't so good. That I'm sitting next to a colleague who's written the first book on philosophy for children.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
All right. And it seems like there's a lot of.
Okay, I wanted to say I'm aware of this project, and I saw the book here. Just to make a distinction between the two, is that our goal, first of all, we aim at adolescents, not at children. The second thing about the difference between philosophy with children and argumentation in the classroom is basically that in this type of projects, we change the way the teacher delivers the content of any material he teaches. We don't introduce any specific activities or any specific materials that he needs to do with the children, with the students, but we try to help him be more argumentative in his discourse. So the focus is different, the basis is the same. Our work is based more on analyzing the discourse that takes place and then try to make it more argumentative from part of the teacher. I don't know if I'm aware of this project, so I'm just trying to make the distinction. Of the
It'd be great to sit down one day.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thanks, this was interesting.
Thank you for the introduction. So I'll leave you with Fabrizio now.
Thank you very much. Then, my topic will be a little bit different because it's more focused on disease and in particular with on diabetes. So the focus of this talk, of this project, is this gap between the patient and the doctor in chronic care communication. You know, the basic distinction that chronic care communication has to do with life habits. So the patient has to change his behavior, whereas the acute has to just is focused on the right intervention. So it's all about persuading, in a certain sense, perceiving and persuading the patient and understanding what can be changed and how. So communication plays a crucial role. So we launched, this is an international project, and it's called reasoning. So how to intervene in this relationship between a doctor and patient in order to improve the process of communication. It is based on, let's say, 3 basic phases. The first one is to see what's happening in the literature review on medical communication. So to see what is important, what is not, what has been done, what is still to be done. What we have realized so far is that big discrepancies between communication studies and the studies in the, let's say, philosophy, argumentation, and communication. These 3 areas do not communicate between them. So there is much done on this one side of medical communication that does not take into account at all studies in the field of more generic communication, on argumentation, on rhetoric, and so on. The second phase that we have already done is the status quo, we called it that way. So to see how physicians interact with patients. So we video recorded several interactions. There are 60 from the diabetes, plus because we have 3 different areas of intervention, plus 100 in other 2 very important areas, which is the assisted fertilization, and the third one is hemoglobin problems. So, and to see the different types of interaction and the patterns between them. The second phase of the pilot study is concerned with questionnaires. So we have involved 60 doctors in the area of diabetes care and see their perception of communication, of medical communication. So we went to conferences of physicians, delivered the questionnaire, and see the way they perceive the doctor-patient communication. So in between this second step and the last one is our intervention to see the patterns and then to identify the best ones and then to somehow intervene on the medical practice, communicative practice. So what's happened? I'm focusing right now only on the part of diabetes care. So we transcribed these 60 dialogues, 60 interactions. There are many other more that are under analysis, but right now we are focusing on these dialogues. And we use the literature review to identify what is let's say, considering the literature of medical communication, the best outcome of a medical interview. We analyze then the patterns, and we use the argumentation tools that we have, so the types of dialogue moves, so we use all the instruments given by pragmatics to analyze and communication, to analyze in different ways these interactions. And then we analyze, in a certain sense, we compare the outcome with the different types of, let's say, the dependent variables. So we try to find correlationship between some types of moves and some types of outcomes. So what happened? That according to the medical literature, the specificity of the outcome in diabetes care is the most important characteristic. There are different types of dependent measures to measure it, and they are related to the patient interest, patient values, and many other little details. So we measure the outcome of each interview, and then we analyze and coded each dialogue according to different criteria. And then we have found, for instance, using the dialogue types, that, for instance, personal information seeking is directly correlated, highly correlated with the quality of the outcome, and also the persuasion moves, any type of, let's say, understanding and trying to making the patient understand specific points. So many persuasion moves are really strictly correlated with the positive outcome of the interview. The second crucial issue is to understand the way the doctors perceive communication. So to understand how the gap between the patient and the physician can be bridged. The questionnaires were delivered to the physicians, and they were intended to measure 2 issues. The way the physician understands his own understanding of communication. So he says, well, I use metaphor, examples, images, I use ordinary language, I encourage question, I recommend short-term goals, I inquire into patient preferences, I ask about the eating habits and emotions, I can listen without any problem. But then when they talk about the patient, something contradictory comes out, so they tend to not to understand what I say, patients are not aware of the seriousness of the disease, patients do not tend to talk about their eating habits, patients have problems with compliance. So what happened? This is questionnaire is around 100 doctors have been submitting this questionnaire, and I mean this is the trend. I mean the majority of the doctors deliver this kind of contradictions. So, in this sense, we can analyze two things: that the doctors have been instructed very deeply on the abstract communication skills, but on the other hand, these communication skills are not enough, and they need a physician apply, in a certain sense, some of the skills, some that have been taught, but then something else is missing. So what we intend to do is to analyze the dialogical structure of the dialogue and see how, and give them prompts and give them some basic instruction or a list of questions that they can follow and then improve communication in this way. So, in the future steps, we want to develop these prompts, these kind of patterns that they need to follow. We already use it in a pilot study, and communication changes radically. Then we need to measure after this kind of pilot of intervention the physician different perception of communication, and then analyzing their perception and their, let's say, satisfaction level through telephonic interviews. From a practical point of view, we are now presenting some preliminary results at the each conference, medical communication in Heidelberg. We are planning a book that we already written with these results, and then we are planning also training courses for physicians, for communication courses. And this pretty much is. Yeah.
What counts as a successful change? So is it that they change their beliefs, that they change their habits, or that they change the habits themselves, and if so, for how long?
I mean, the patient or the doctor?
The patient.
The patient, yeah.
When is that communication considered successful?
What you're measuring is an effect. What you're talking about is an effect. We can do that. We intend in the long run to do that, but for diabetes we need longer periods, because compliance can be measured only on a 2-3 year span.
Okay.
On the immediate level, we can only analyze what in the medical literature is just called the communication outcome, not the communication result. So the immediate effect. So the recommendation made is specific enough and let's say suitable to the patient. So it's taking the specificity of the recommendation, whether it is related to specific behavior or not. So this is the measure that we are taking into account. Longer compliance can be measured, obviously. We need we have also all the let's say ethical clearances to do that, but it takes a little bit longer. Yeah.
Can you give us an example of a misunderstanding between the patient and the doctor, and what would be your prompt or your...
Okay, there are many types of misunderstanding. First off, technical language, that physicians use a lot of technical language. Second, use of metaphors that are using wrong metaphors. For instance, they use diabetes is a size, for instance, but diabetes is a monster. So the patient, you can see in the follow-up with the conversation, the patient say, okay, then what should I do? Should I give up? Okay, no. There are conversational gaps or people that completely miss the point. There are pragmatic problems. For instance, the patient understands a question as a directive, so, okay, doctor, I will do that. No, I was asking you, because the roles are not clear at the very beginning. There are all sorts of communication gaps that sometimes are clear because they come to a deadlock in the communication. Sometimes they are dragged on, and then simply the patient comes back and has not complied at all with the instruction because he couldn't get it. So there are huge types of problems. The basic problem of this communication is the doctor doesn't ask any question, or the questions are only intended to have positive replies or yes or no reply. They are not so much open-ended, question, and besides, they never leave space for the patient to talk. So that's a common trend. So it's one directional.
It is that it is important to define what we can call a good quality, a good dialogical quality.
Yeah.
Isn't it? But perhaps this criteria can be changed along the research, isn't it?
Yeah.
They are not pre-given.
No, absolutely.
That's impressive.
Yeah, the point of this study was, first off, the analysis. We select the best practice that are already used. So, out of more than 60 physicians, they use different strategies, different methods, and we select which is the best one, which is the most successful one, and try to explain why. And so, our model, in the sense of the best practice, is an abstraction from what's happening in the real life, and then in this way we can have a more abstract model that can be applied to different areas. Okay.